Hi guys, welcome back to another video on Pinkman solution. This particular video is going to be the third video in the three-part series of RAD building project or the C2 server. So in this particular video, we are going to build these two clients, the victim client and the admin client. If you followed the last two videos, in the last two videos we discussed the flow between these three entities, and we also build our C2 gRPC API server in the last video, in the second video. And in today's video we are going to build these two clients, and at the end I'm going to show you, actually I'm going to run all these three entities in the same localhost system, and then I'm going to show you how this will look in action. But just for the demo purpose, I'm going to run all three of them in the same system. But in real world you can think of them as three entities for running in three different servers. So they need not be in the same system, they can be geographically apart in the entire world, but only condition is these two entities and these two entities needs to have some way of reaching out to the other. I mean, they should be accessible via the network they are in, so otherwise they are not going to work. So just make sure these two and these two are accessible through the network they are connected to, and the rest of the things will work just fine. So without any delay, just let's get started with building our victim client and the admin client. So let me head over to the VS Code. So this is the proto definition, so which we discussed in the previous video. So let me head over to this client folder and the embed folder. So the embed folder is going to contain our victim client. So let me name it victimclient.com. Now, so what this victim client is going to do, well, let me just straight away go ahead and start implementing, and I'll explain along the way. So the regular boilerplate, first I'm going to say package main, because this is going to run at a separate entity. Then func main. Now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to declare few variables. One is going to be the gRPC option variable for creating a connection, one is error, and one is the client gRPC, I mean our custom gRPC API client. So let me head over, say options. This is going to be gRPC dot dial options. Then the second variable is going to be the connection, and I'm going to say I want a pointer to client connection. Next I'm going to declare one error variable. Then I'm going to create a client variable, and this time it's going to be our gRPC API, which we implemented as a server.go, and then not server.go, this thing right here, so which we generated out of our proto file. Then I'm going to say dot embed client. So because this is a victim client, so we are going to say embed, and the victim means the same thing here, so victim client. Now our variable declaration is done. Now let me go ahead and start the gRPC connection. First I'm going to append the options, and here I'm going to say gRPC dot with insecure. So this with insecure means by default gRPC works on HTTP2, which creates a TLS connection. So I'm going to say I don't need the TLS connection, just give me simple unencrypted channel. Then I'm going to say if a connection is not successful, then I'm going to log the error simply. So first let me dial the connection using gRPC.dial, and in the string I'm going to pass the localhost, so this can be your IP in the real world, and then the port where my server is listening. So let me quickly go ahead and see where my server is listening on. So as you can see, our admin listener is running on port 4445, so I'm going to give the same thing here. So D, then I'm going to give 4445. That is done. Now I have to give the gRPC options, so opt, and I'll simply destructure it. Now I'm going to say error nor equal to nil, then if the connection is after running this function here, if my error is not nil, then I'm going to say simply log.fatal and the error. So this will simply exit if a connection is not successful and print the error. Now I'm going to defer the connection to close. Otherwise I'm going to defer the connection closing. So now main part is done. Now I'll simply instantiate our client c2 gRPC API dot new embed client, and I'm going to pass a connection here, so which we generated here. So now our connection is done with the server. Now I have to create a context variable, because if you remember our server code, it accepts a context variable by default. So what we have to do, we have to create some context variable using the context package. So I'm going to say context.background. Now, so this victim client is continuously poll for commands to our c2 gRPC server, and if there is any command, it will simply execute it and return the result. If there are no commands, it's going to sleep for 3 seconds and then continue in the same loop. So for that, I'm going to start an infinite for loop, and then I'm going to create a variable for new request. I'm going to say new, this is going to be c2 gRPC, so sorry, it's going to be small c2 gRPC, and then it's going to be empty gRPC API dot empty. Why empty? Because if you check the proto file, so to get the command we have to pass the empty, and then it will return the command for us to execute in the victim client. So I'm created a simply request variable of type c2 gRPC dot empty. Now this is done. Let me create 2 more variables saying client, so which we created here, client dot get command. Now I can simply pass this context variable and our request which we created in the previous line. So as soon as this execute on the c2 server, we are going to get hold of our command which we need to execute here. So before that, I need to check if the command is empty or not. So I'm going to simply say command dot input equal to empty string. Then I'm going to simply, so if our input is empty, so that means we don't have any command to execute right now, so which we received from our c2 server. I'm going to simply sleep for 3 seconds until I run the next get command call. So I'm going to say time dot second. So you can increase and decrease this for number here, it's up to you how often you want to check on the c2 server for any commands to execute, and then I'll continue with this loop. Otherwise, if I got some command, so if I get till line 39, so that means I have some command to execute, and this command dot input is not empty. So what I'm going to simply do, I'm going to tokenize the command string. So to do that, let me declare a new variable, say tokens, and then strings. Using the string package, I'm going to call string.split, and I'm going to pass command.input here, and the delimiter is going to be space. As you know, in Linux for command or tokens are separated by space, so that's why I'm giving the delimiter as space here. And then let me declare another variable for executing the command. So we have something called exec package in Golang. I'm going to use that exec.command. So this will hold a command actually which we want to execute, so it's of type exec.cmd, and then I'm going to check the length of our tokens. So if the length of the token is equal to 1, then it's a single word command, so I can execute it without doing much effort. So I can say exec.command. Oh, by the way, so this is the a function you need to call to execute a system command. then you can pass the tokens. Since its full length is 1, I can simply say tokens a subscript 0. Now else, if the tokens are more than 1, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply say c equal to exec.command, and then I'm going to set tokens 0, and then I'm going to destructure the remaining slice. Okay, so this will execute and return the context here. From this I can get the output. So to do that, let me create a buffer which is going to store our output, and I'm going to say c.combine output. If I hover over this, you can see what it means. Combine output runs the command, it returns its combined standard output and standard error. So this will execute our command finally and will return the output in this buff. And if it is not successful, our error won't be nil, and I can say if error not equal to nil, cmd.output. So if our command is not successful in executing, I also want to send the error to the client, I mean the admin client. So I can say cmd.output equal to error.error. That is done. Now I have to simply send this result back to first. Before that, let me give the output here. So if there is an error, we got the command output as error. Otherwise, if it is successful, I can simply say convert string, convert the buffer into strings. For that, I can simply typecast buffer to string, because as you can say, it returns a byte array. So we can typecast a byte array to string like this. Then our command.output will contain our actual command output, and then we can simply do client.send result, and here we have to pass the context, same context again, and the command. So this command will contain our output and will be received by our admin client. So it's done. Pretty simple, right? So we didn't do much. So we just created a context and created a gRPC connection, and in the for loop we are continuously polling for commands and sending the result back to our C2 server. That's it. So the main logic is right here, not more than 10 to 15 lines. Okay, so before I execute this, let me quickly build the admin client as well, and that is going to be even more simpler. I'm getting the value of error is never used. Okay, so it's saying I'm never using the value of error. Okay, I can simply discard this for now. If you want, you can add some error check here as well, but I'm going to simply discard it. Now let me build the admin client as well. Like always, I'm going to declare it as a package main, because this is also going to run as a separate entity. Then function main. Like previous, I'm going to declare few variables for creating. So this is also client, so I have to declare same kinds of variable here as well. So I'm going to simply copy this, paste here, but this time it's going to be admin client. Now same like embed client, I have to append the options here with gRPC.withinSecure. Done. Now I have to establish the connection. For that, connection error equal to, or I can say connection error gRPC.dial, then format.sprintf, localhost, since I will be running everything on the same system, %d, then my port was, I have to check, just a sec. So our admin server is running on this 9995, so I'll give the same port here. By the way, you can accept this as a command line arguments or input from the user, it's up to you. how you want to customize it. So this is just a basic example, so I'm hard coding it right now. So this is done. I have to give the options, gRPC option. I'll destructure that here, and then if error not equal to nil, then it means we are not able to establish connection, and I'm going to simply print that error. By the way, log.fatal means it's going to simply exit after printing the error. Again, I'm going to defer the connection.close. Done. Now I'm going to create the client, initiate the client by saying c2 gRPC API dot new admin client for this time, and I'm going to pass a connection. Done. Now the main logic will start from here. So first I have to declare a command, so which we will accept from command line argument. So for that I'm going to say new c2 gRPC dot command. Now I'm going to say command dot input, so which will be our input to the victim client. So I'm going to say os dot args 1. So we are trying to take command via command line argument while we run this Go program. So we pass that as input. Now I'm going to create the context variable for passing it to the gRPC function. I'm going to say similar thing what I did there, context dot background. Then I'm going to say command error equal to client dot execute command. So since for this is an admin client, it can execute a command on the victim, so I'm saying client dot execute command, and I'll pass the context and our input command here like this. Okay, done. Now I have to check if there is any error or not. If error, then I'm going to simply log.fatal. That means we are not, for some reason we are not successful in executing the command through gRPC. Then I'm going to simply exit and print the error. Otherwise, if we are successful, I'm going to simply print ln, not f, simply print should be fine. Then I'm going to say command dot output. So this horizontal variable will contain our output, and then yeah, that's it. We are done. So every time you want to run a command, you will execute this admin client with some command in the command line. So let's quickly put this to test. So I have opened 3 terminals here. So in the first terminal, I'm going to execute a C2 server. So let me go ahead and run it. Go run a server.go. So starting the C2 server for admin and embed clients. So it started. Now let me run the victim client first. So go run embed victim client.go. It's running. Finally, I'm going to run our admin client. So client. Okay, so we didn't pass any command line argument, so it failed. So let me pass some command for it to execute on the victim. So let me say cat at c resolve.conf. So I'm trying to get the conf file from the victim. So let's see what do we get here. Okay, so we do got the response from client. So this is the output of our command here, so which we received from victim, which is running right here in the middle. Now in the real world, you can't tell your victim to run this Go file in their system. So what you have to do, you have to build this Go program as an exe or an executable for Linux. So what you can do is you can run go build and build this program into an exe or an executable file, and then you have to transfer it to the victim. and by the time it executes, if your C2 server is running, it will create a connection with C2 server, and with your admin client you can come and execute command on the victim. So that's how rats and C2 server work in the real world. So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and if you are interested in cybersecurity related topics like this and you want to see such more content in the future, then do follow our channel Pinkman Solution. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.